Hello friends and potential friends. Let's see, today is Tuesday, April 27th, 2021. I tried to record this yesterday, but it didn't turn out so well, so we're going to try this again. I'm starting out here in my staging area because I've been moving things through the lab outside as fast as I can do so. This guy right here is a Corbaci pepper that I hope to get seeds from here soon. It's one from the seeds that I got from Cindy at my Lazy Day garden. In fact, I've got a lot of plants that I'm hoping to get seeds from soon. More than I can possibly manage in the small space that I have to deal with. All right, there's a couple of white tomasil tomatoes that I got from UT and Angel. And over here next to them is a couple of garden peach tomatoes that I got from UT and Angel. These are just in the staging area right now. I know if I keep them that close together, they're probably going to be cross-pollinated. So I'm doing what I can with what I've got, and I'm going to be spreading things out all over my property. That might be a sign of some turmeric starting to pop up. That first little pot down there. Nothing in the ginger yet, which kind of surprises me because my neighbor up the street says his ginger's up about 1.5 feet tall. And out in here, yeah, I found some more potatoes in the kitchen a while back that were starting to grow, so I stuck them in the dirt out here, so I've got another little potato patch. And that right there might be a turmeric coming up. Let's see, the Jimmy Nardello peppers that I kept alive over the winter are putting on fruit. There's about 4 or 5 peppers on that one plant, and the one over there next to it has got at least one. Thought I saw 2. Yeah, there's a second one hiding in there. Pineapple plantation. Yes, we still have pineapples starting to form. They're starting to get their little green tops on them. That's number 2 there. And there's number 1 over there. And the rest of the pineapples are doing pretty good as well. Still need to get that Mexican avocado in the ground somewhere. And I still have a bunch of sweet potato slips that I've got to do something with. But that's part of my juggling act. Let's see, datel peppers. The little ones that I grew this year are not really producing yet. But the ones I kept in the green stalk last winter are already giving me ripe peppers. And a lot of not so ripe ones yet. There's probably half a dozen on that first plant there. Not to mention all those blooms. And all the rest of them are loaded with blossoms and starting to produce as well. So I'll be making me some datel sauce one of these days. Let's see, I filled this bed up with okra. I think I mentioned that in the last update. The cats decided to get in here and play, and they crushed a bunch of them. So I had to reseed some of the empty spots there, and I see a couple of them from the reseeds are starting to come up now. So that's a good thing. The tomatoes that I kept in the lab over the winter are looking pretty sorry, to be honest, but they're still got a bunch of tomatoes hanging on them. So I'm just waiting for those to ripen before I do away with the rest of those plants. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Lucky number 13 tomatoes amongst the 4 of them. And as you can see, some of them are ripening. That one's got a little bit of a split to it, but that's okay. It'll still make a sandwich. Pomegranates are still doing good, but still need to go in the ground. But they are putting on new growth. And right over here, this is part of my dispersion plan. Like I mentioned, I got a bunch of different tomatoes and a bunch of different peppers from UT and Angel as well as Cindy, and I'm hoping to save some seeds from a lot of those. The problem is my property is only about 100 feet by 100 feet here in the backyard, Not nearly enough to get things spread out enough to avoid cross-pollination, but I'll be strategically placing peppers and tomatoes various places around the yard, hoping to at least minimize the cross-pollination. These guys here are red Marconis that I hope to get a few seeds from. Oh, and I keep forgetting to mention lately my elderberry. That poor thing. Anybody that follows me knows that thing's set in a 6-inch pot for about a year and a half since I got it rooted. Well, a while back I came out and happened to notice it was just drooping and hanging down and sad as it could be. And I went looking and there was hardly any soil left in that 6-inch pot. All it was roots. So I real quick came over and put it here in the bed where I normally put my purslane and watered it in good, and it perked right up, and now it's put on probably at least 6 inches of new growth since I put it in here. I think it's going to be happy there. Let's see, let's go look at the main beds. Of course, the rosemary is going crazy and still needs a haircut, but I can't cut it yet because when I cut it, I'll probably will be planting the cuttings. And I don't have a lot of space in the lab yet to be starting new cuttings. The collards are growing real good. And as you can see, I finally got the mustard out of the way. I just did that yesterday. Cut off all the seed heads, put them in a paper bag. They're in the house drying right now. Oh, and incidentally, you'd like to know why these things are called cabbage collards? Check this guy out. That's a collard, just like these others. It's trying to form a head. It's not very solid, and I don't think it will ever get solid, but it looks just like a little head of cabbage. Rest of the collards doing good. The kale's doing good. I still keep munching off of that every day. And the kale in the far bed's doing good. I got rid of all the Swiss chard, and I'm slowly moving mild peppers into this space. And in fact, the first, or those, that 6 right there, are California Wonder bell peppers, and I've got a couple more of those to add in. Next to them are the red Marconis, and they've got a bunch of little baby peppers starting to form up on them. And then next to them is the cilantro, covered with seeds. I'll be harvesting those seeds pretty soon, and then I'll have room to put a few more peppers in here. The sweet potatoes that I planted last week are all doing good. A lot of the beans that I planted right along the trellis are coming up. And the last of my winter tomatoes still hanging in here. There are a few tomatoes still hanging on the vines, and I'm just waiting for those to ripen so I can get these things out of here and plant out the rest of my sweet potato slips. Hi, Torty. Now, I mentioned my plan for dispersing. Over here near the trash pile, I've got a couple of Pilsner Vessi tomatoes. I'll probably be putting some peppers over here before long too. They're probably not more than 30 feet from where I'm planting the other peppers, but I'm trying to put them in a spot where they'll be blocked off from the breeze a little bit, so hopefully they won't have any pollen blown into them. Oh, and there's my gardening buddy back there protecting them for me. And about 30 feet over this way, in the far northwest corner of the property, we have a California Wonder bell pepper. It does have some blossoms on it. And these are Black Beauty tomatoes. By putting these out here, I'm hoping to minimize the cross-pollinations. Plus, I come out here every day, 2 or 3 times a day, and hand pollinate any blossoms that I find. Incidentally, looks like I might get some blueberries this year. At least a handful. That's a lot more than I've had in the past. I think last year I got like 4 or 5 berries. This year I've got a bunch more. I've been coming out and pouring my excess coffee around this guy. once or twice a week. Ponderosa lemons doing pretty good still, as are the papayas. Fig is still growing. And back here in this corner behind the red bud, these I believe are Cherokee green tomatoes. Again, they're about 25-30 feet from the other tomatoes, but out of the direct line of the breeze. And they're also back here in the shade so that the UV rays we get every day don't kill them. And then out here where it gets a little bit more sunlight, I've got a few jalapeno peppers. And again with these, I come out and hand pollinate the blossoms whenever they start forming. Let's see, the rest of the mini orchard, the other lemon is doing fairly good. The loquat that I grew from seed is as tall as I am now. I did pick that one ponderosa lemon, and it was pretty good. I've turned it into juice. I don't see any more that are forming up big enough to spot back there, but I'm sure there'll be a few more coming along the way. Florida avocado is about 4 feet tall now, starting to branch out nicely. And the gardenia is still going strong. That's kind of a quick look around the back and a very quick explanation of my plans for trying to minimize cross-pollination, because I'm really trying to save too many different kinds of seed this year. Let's go take a quick look in the lab and see what we got in there. Okay, let me turn this AC off so maybe you can hear a little bit better. As you can see, I've gotten most of the tomatoes out of here. Well, except for my one Praxis cherry tomato. I'm seriously considering keeping that in the lab through the summer because I don't think it could handle our heat. And I'd like to get some cherry tomatoes off of that. I've got lots of peppers. As you can see, a lot of them are starting to bloom. I've been hand pollinating these ones a little bit too, whenever I notice the blossoms. Oh, and my catnip is even trying to produce some seeds for me. I gave a leaf of that to the kittens inside the other day, and they played with that thing for over an hour, having a good time. But in here I've got red marconis, jalapenos, Jimmy Nardellos, Puzajawalas, a bunch of different varieties. There's a couple of California Wonder bell peppers, and in the back there, most of those are lemon drops. I'm going to take the couple of those and put them in pots and disperse them out in the yard somewhere, and all the rest of them will be going in where the mustard came out, along with any more jalapenos that I've got in here. Sunflowers are much too big for those yogurt cups. I need to get them moved out in the sun too. And back in the back, believe it or not, I forgot to plant banana peppers this year. When I finally realized that, I went and grabbed some seeds and got about a dozen of them in these yogurt cups back here. Most, if not all, of these things will be going outside probably in the next week to week and a half, as I find time and the rain permits. Now let's take one last walk, take a look at what's going on up front, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Okay, Tater Tower, still going strong. It's dropped. All the flowers have dropped off the potato plants, and it looks like I need to get them watered too. Starting to droop a little bit. They were perked up pretty good yesterday when I looked at them. I've got 6 Ajvarsky peppers in this top layer. Those ones I definitely want to get seeds from. In fact, I see one over there that needs to be pollinated. Yeah. And another one down there. Oop, and there's one over here too. Yeah, those I want to get seeds from. That's why they're out here, and they're the only peppers I have in the front. And over on the other side, boy, that mint needs to be worked with a little bit. But it has been running a pretty bad battle with the morning glories. You may notice that I had to rearrange this tower a little bit because those homestead tomatoes were getting pretty big and they needed to be supported. So I lowered them down farther into the stack and brought out, installed the supports, and as needed I'll be adding another layer of supports farther up. Because the homestead tomatoes I definitely want to get seeds from, because those were bred to grow here in Florida. And I'd like to see if they can really do that. They're happy and they're healthy and they're blooming all over the place. So we'll see what we can do with those. I have been eating some radishes from time to time as well. So I'm getting some food out of here. Oops, looks like somebody else is getting some food out of here too. I'm gonna have to look to see what's eating my radishes. But anyway, that's a quick update on what we got going on. My plans for trying to minimize cross-pollination, and I shall see you on the next one.